All right, that means that we are live.
Very cool. Very, very
So,
cool.
yes, we're gonna, y'all are gonna see us. We're not gonna be able to see all of your faces, but we can see you coming into the room. So excited to have everyone here. The first thing that I like to do when we start a webinar every single time is go ahead and test our chat functionality. So what you're gonna do is click on chat. It's gonna automatically toggle to just hosts and panelists, but I encourage you to go toggle to everyone and then say in the chat where you're joining from. So I'm gonna say hi from Bozeman, Montana. I encourage everyone else to go ahead and post in the chat where you're joining from. Don't be shy. Here we
Oh,
go.
wow. Vegas. One.
Here we go. We've got Wilmington, Las Vegas. We've got
Awesome.
Oakland, Los Angeles with a whoop whoop. We love it.
Yeah.
Greensboro,
All
good to
across the
see
country.
you. Love to see it. I'm waiting for Texas. You usually have a good Texas showing.
Nice. I'm from the mid Atlantic, so I need to see Maryland and DC and Virginia on here soon.
Yeah, that's awesome. For those who are still just coming into the room, we're putting where we're joining from in the chat. I highly encourage you to toggle to everyone so that they can see where you're joining from. And when you ask questions, and obviously other folks can see, what you're asking as well. Hello, Randy. We got Chicago. Love it. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll let people keep coming into the room. Excited to have everyone here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself and Backflip. I'm going to then very briefly introduce Cindy and Nick and hand it over to them. Really, tonight is y'all's session. So if you've joined this room, you're here to learn, you're here to take away something. I highly encourage you to be as engaged as possible. Get your pen and paper ready or your note taker, however you're engaging, and utilize this session to the best of your ability. Ask as many questions as possible. You can do that throughout the chat. You can do that throughout the Q&A, and we will get to all of your questions, and we will get to all the questions that you've submitted. So thanks. We had a robust amount of questions submitted, so I'm excited to get to those as well. The last thing I'll say in terms of logistics and everything, I am also joined by my teammate Mike. He is here. He's in the chat. So if you do have any backflip specific questions that you'd like to ask that I might not have time to get to, ask those in the chat. Mike will respond to you. He's one of our account executives. He's been here for a couple years and he can answer all your nitty gritty backflip questions. Where do you lend? What are your terms? Can I lend with an LLC versus an individual? I mean, ask him anything. So Mike is here to join us. Without further ado, I'm going to say my name is Mariah, head of marketing and go-to-market here at Backflip. Been here for almost 4 years, and really, really excited to be partnered with Nick and Cindy today. This is my favorite style of webinar because it's super interactive. Um, so I'm going to give you the lay of land on Backflip and then hand it to them. Backflip, I like to think of as threefold. One, we are a free app that helps you analyze and comp your properties. So think of it as like your gut check in your pocket. You can quickly type in an address into the app. It'll bring back relevant comps from the MLS in real time, and then it'll give you the current as is price and then the ARV. So you can really get a good feel of, is this something I need to explore more and take to my spreadsheets? Or is this like cut it and move on? So really, really cool tool. I'm going to post the link to download the app in the chat. So y'all can, if you don't already have it, like I said, it's free. Check it out, play around with it, look at your numbers. We all love analyzing properties. So do that. The second thing about Backflip, we are a lender. So we lend in 44 states across the US. We have worked with thousands of investors. We try to make this lending process as easy as possible. Close time typical is average 10 to 14 days. And so we really try to make that easy for you to get your properties funded. Last but not least, the thing I am most biased about, but the thing I love the most about Backflip is our community. So we've got over 118,000 folks in the Backflip community. That's both in person, we do in person and virtual programming. So we really want to be your network and your resource to help you grow. One of the things that we do, and we are happy to partner with Nick and Cindy on, is that we love highlighting investors. We love getting advice from other investors. So that is why we are here tonight, to ask a million questions and learn directly from people who've had 20 plus years of experience in the business. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking about Backflip, and we're going to hand it over to Nick and Cindy. They're going to talk about their background, give you the lay of the land, show us a quick presentation, and then we'll jump right into the questions y'all have submitted, and feel free to ask away in the chat. So without further ado, Nick and Cindy, I am passing it over to you to share more about you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And thank you to Backflip for giving us this opportunity to share with your audience our life experiences, both in real estate, well, as agents and as investors. Real quick for me, born and raised in Maryland, spent 23 years as a licensed agent there. I'm now in North Carolina. I'm a licensed agent here as well. But about 6 years ago, I decided that I wanted more from real estate, and I started investing. I've done fix and flips, I've done wholesales, I've done sub-2 deals, I've done creative financing deals. You name it, I've done it. I'm not a buy and hold guy. That's just not my forte. So what we're going to talk about today is a culmination of lead generation, not only from an investor's perspective, but from an agent's perspective. And that's actually, Cindy's probably more the marketing real estate agent perspective. So I'll let you tell about yourself.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Cindy Greene. I have been in real estate for over 12 years. I've come from new home construction to development and a licensed agent. I ran a team, and now getting kind of more educated in the investment world. It's a whole new world over here, which is exciting. But I've done a lot of lead gen and my own team, and kind of trying to combine those two things together. So that's kind of my perspective of how bringing the agent's perspective and how to use our lead gen constantly and kind of put it on the investment side. So
cool. And then one thing that would be great if we could see in the chat, because it's lead gen, and lead gen is necessary for any business. So who's an investor, who's an agent, just so we can kind of get a feel for who we're chatting with tonight. If you could put it in the chat, that'd be great. And while you're doing that, I'm going to share my screen to show you my our little eight slide presentation for today. We're not going to spend a lot of time on the presentation, just because we think there's more value in the conversation. So awesome. Yeah, I think one thing where I see both agent looking to be an investor, great. One thing that we've seen also is agents turning into investors. A lot of agents do not know how to talk to investors. And I think we found that a lot of investors get frustrated with agents for that very reason. So whether you're one or the other, kind of taking a step back and getting to know the other side will help.
And I want to chime in on that one too. I think it's also the other way around too. I think agents are not educated enough to come to the investor and or know the language and or how to reach out to come up with other strategies for our sellers. Right. So I think it's the whole education that I think that we're missing.
Cool. So just super quick, as it says here, whether you're an investor or an agent, we're in the lead generation business, right? It's a prospecting world. If you're not prospecting for deals or opportunities, you're just dead in the water. And that is, right, two activities that are mandatory. First, you have to acquire leads, and then you have to close them. Everything in the middle is just metrics and KPIs and how good are you at one level or another, but ultimately you're acquiring and closing leads. Again, nothing happens until you're lead, period, end of story, prospecting dialed in. And thank you all for the great questions. A lot of them, it's really time or money. What do you have to invest? Do you have time to invest in generating leads? Do you have money to invest in generating leads? Or something in the middle? And it could be that can change over time, right? You might start with, you've got more time and no money, so you're going to do those activities. And then as you get more and more business, you can switch to other things. But it's just a matter of understanding what's out there. And part of this also, sorry, is we'd love to actually have somebody that's willing to jump on and ask, kind of, we can do like a live back and forth to kind of guide you through, well, who are you and what do you have and what are you trying to accomplish for a couple minutes once we kind of get done with our presentation and get into the Q&A section. I found this little thing on Instagram. I thought it was kind of funny. You know, do you have your ducks in a row? It's a great saying. And then here's the funny thing, right? Most agents and or investors, they don't have ducks, they don't have a row, they have squirrels, and they're all at a pagan rave. It's like a complete crapshoot. They don't, you know, it's spray and pray. So we're just trying to kind of get everyone to understand we need ducks, we need them in a row, and then we'll have some consistency. So again, who are you? Do you have more time or do you have more money? It's really that simple. I hate to overcomplicate. You know, a lot of people I think overcomplicate it because they're trying to sell you something. Do you have more time or do you have more money? And here they are. And this isn't a complete list. You know, there's other things in here, but generally speaking, if you have more time and less money, you're going to do the stuff on the left. You're going to drive for dollars. You're going to cold call people. You're going to door knock. You're going to go through the MLS. You're going to go through foreclosure.com and all these .com websites looking for opportunities. You're even on sites like Investor Lift or other sites that are, you know, investors are posting deals in there. It's still like a free-for-all, and it takes a lot of energy to generate leads. If you've got the money and you've got less time, then you're going to be on the right side and you're going to start leveraging your money to generate opportunities. Things like sending out thousands of postcards, sending out hundreds of letters, running pay-per-click ads, whether it's on Google or Facebook or Instagram. Or the one thing that I actually, and that's why it's highlighted for me, I personally have found a lot of success in the pay-per-lead for varying reasons. And these are a couple of them. Again, at the end, we're going to send you a link to connect with us offline or after the event. If you're interested in any of these pay-per-lead sources, let us know. Shameless plug, I have affiliate links to all of them. So, you know, I can send you that link. And if, you know, any of these work for you, awesome, sign up with them. If they don't, that's awesome too. And then last but not least, you know, again, partner, if you're an agent, partner with investors. If you're an investor, partner with an agent, because those are great ways to find off-market deals for both sides. And I think this is one, sorry, this is another kind of jokey, funny thing. If I can bring it up, I think it's not going to show because I'm not sharing the right thing. You know, it's not going to work. So we're not going to go there. It was just a video where, you know, people do a lot of like, you get hyped. If you're going to be a cold caller, you've got to kind of get your hype song going, right? You got to get in the mindset to get on the dialer and get going. And if that works for you, awesome. God bless. But it's just, it's for me, it's an energy drain. And I try not to do things that drain my energy. So kind of in conclusion, before we get to our questions, it's as simple as, you know, going back to those strategies, picking one or two strategies that you can commit to on a daily basis. Anything in life, it's about consistency, right? It's not about the home runs and the grand slams. It's about hitting singles. If you can hit singles and doubles on a daily basis, like that creates a sustainable business.
And I'm going to add, it's consistency and it's systems in place. Yep. If you do not have systems in place, you're never going to keep going. And I think that's where on the agent side, a lot of times we go, and we see this marketing piece and this thing, and let's try this and try this. But if you narrow down how you're going to lead gen and put a system in place on how to do that and be consistent, it will work. But the problem is we don't have systems in place to keep our business going.
Yeah. We'll actually get to that question about managing, you know, what system do we use? This is, you know, again, it's kind of simple. And then at the very end, you know, I was telling Mariah before we got on, I found a great movie clip where John Goodman was telling Mark Wahlberg how to create time freedom. And it was about having enough money where if somebody kind of gets in your way or annoys you, you can basically tell them to go fly a kite. So you want to get a go fly your kite money, because that kind of money creates a lifestyle freedom. So Google John Goodman, Mark Wahlberg clip, and you'll find it. But it was not a G-rated clip.
I was gonna say.
So that's why we didn't include it. But yeah, no. So that's kind of the end of our little kind of presentation, so to speak. And love to kind of open up the floor to questions.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to start. I know that Maya already asked a question in the chat, and we encourage y'all to continue to submit questions. We also have like a majority of pre-submitted questions as well. So we've got like 40 plus questions that y'all already submitted and want to hear about. So I'm going to ask those as well. So let's start with Maya, and then we'll jump into the source question. So from Maya, what systems do you utilize to manage leads, follow up, etc.?
So when I started doing investing, I was part of an investing group, and the gentleman that started that group had a system that he used. It was fairly archaic and manual. So I was a systems developer before I got into real estate. So I kind of put on my developer hat and built my own CRM. So I have a custom solution that I use that has automations, it has workflows, it even has AI built into it for a lot of the follow-up. And it's gotten to a point where I think I built it for me and for my system. So it works well for investors and agents because that's who I am. And the workflows function with like a 5-day follow-up. Once a lead comes in my system, it's 5 days worth of follow-up, and then it gets weekly follow-up, and then it gets monthly follow-up. And that can be manual or automated. So, and we're going to provide information on how to, if you want more information about what I've created, we'll provide a link for that information later. But I also know a guy who's wildly successful, and he uses accordion folders. He literally has pieces of paper for every one of his leads. And he says, and one accordion folder is the months of the year, January through December. And the second one is 31 days. So like in July, so when he gets to July, like he is now, he takes all the July leads out of the follow up with them. And then I don't know, my system just glitched. I don't know if you all caught that with the accordion folders.
It got a little spotty, but yeah, it sounds like each month. Essentially, it sounds like something you could do or maybe should do digitally, but he's doing it on a
I mean, he does it with accordion folders, and it works for him. And for him, it's great because he's not dependent on technology, and all he does is he takes his accordion folders with him wherever he goes. So you don't need technology, but like for him, that's his system.
And as long as you use your system,
right?
That's the key. You have to use your system that you've put in place.
Yeah, and he executes that system every day. So it could be pen and paper, or it could be an AI-backed, CRM.
Yeah.
But again, that's time or money. If you have the money to invest in the system, great. If you don't,
use an Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
I mean, simple. I mean, I started my database on an Excel spreadsheet until I went to a CRM. I still have an Excel spreadsheet for all my closings and where they came from and the percentages of them built out. So it's building the systems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great call. I mean, that leads us to some of our questions that were submitted. The first one was around, how do you recommend starting from scratch? Say you're starting in a market and you have 0 contacts.
Again, it's time or money. I mean, I hate to kind of sound like a broken record, and that's where it would be a matter of, I want to sit down and kind of ask like 17 more questions of that person that asked that question. What are you trying to accomplish? How many transactions are you trying to do it? How fast are you trying to do it? How much money do you have? How much time do you have? Is this a second job? Like all those things kind of come into play, because if you've got a 9-to-5 job and you're a single parent and you've got 2 kids at home, well, you have to find a way to compress time.
And I think you also have to narrow that question down of what market. Okay, like what kind of market do you want to be in? What person are you going after? Like what sellers are you going after? kind of diving deep into how you want and how do you want to market, right? Do you want to do newsletters? Do you want to do calls? Are you wanting to do mailers? How do you want to do it?
Yeah. It's a great question. I'd love that person to get on, and we could spend like 20 minutes just answering that question for that person, which would be great for the group, because it's you can take that dialogue and kind of expand it out to your thing. But I think that's where it just needs a lot more information to answer that succinctly. I would say
tax records. I mean, there's database searches. There's so many different things that you can do to get the information.
You could, I mean, for somebody that wants to start, go to a meetup group where they're investors and basically ask to be an apprentice. That's not a bad way to start. You can learn from somebody who's doing it. And, instead of asking the investor, well, what can you do for me? Ask the investor, what can I do for you? And that'd be a great way to learn. So it's an infinite number of ways to answer that question. With more specifics, we could be more specific.
Yeah. Well, we'll give people a little bit of time to get enough courage, and we'll see if someone's willing to come off mute and chat with us. In the meantime, let's ask some of these other questions. So one of them was, how do you find seller leads without competing against every other investor for the same list?
So I think that question is I'm assuming that person is thinking the only way to generate leads is to pull a list from the public records based on, out of state, tired landlord, the kind of those broad categories of people, generate a list, skip trace it, and then just blast the phone with that. If that's the only way that you're going to do it, then yes, you're going to be competing with every other person that's paying a VA in like the Philippines or in India, $2 an hour to make phone calls. I would say the better way to do it is networking with an agent, partnering with an agent, doing maybe the pay-per-lead. Pay-per-leads, the lead providers say they only provide the one lead to one person, but that can't be accurate, because I've called people when I got a lead and they're like, I just talked to you. And I was like, no, you didn't. And they're like, well, I just talked to someone from your company. I was like, no, you didn't, because I'm a one-man operation. So it wasn't me. But the thing is, it's the consistency of the follow-up, right? My system follows up with people until they tell me to stop, like literally tell me to stop calling. And because of it, I've gotten deals where it was 6 months later, it was 12 months later. I think one was actually 14 months later, because I was the only one left asking. I was the only one left continuing to stay in touch with them. Do things differently than the masses. That would be the way to kind of separate yourself.
We kind of talked about this yesterday as well when we were talking through this question. It's like, let's scenario of, I want to go after an old neighborhood built in the 1950s and 1970s, right? So I'm going to mail them a mailer every single month, but on that mailer, I'm also going to provide them value. Junk jugglers, who's going to come clean out their house? Who's going to clean it? Who's going to provide value and get them to start and seeing your photo and that you're providing all the value to get them to that conversation of, how am I going to handle selling this house? So providing value over and over again to the same people, I think helps as well. Again, it's targeting whatever market you're going to target, or targeting those, if it was a small niche, right? But it's going after your target and then providing value over and over again. Consistency.
Yeah, that consistency sounds like y'all have nailed that time and time again. Awesome. Okay, it looks like Matt's joining in the chat, so I'll bounce back and forth here. Matt asks, how do you get past the skepticism many people have about talking to and trusting someone cold calling them or knocking on their door?
Wow.
That's good job, Matt.
That is an excellent question. I think it kind of goes to what Cindy was just saying. There's a difference, because again, the vast majority of the leads that I communicate with got online and asked and searched for "sell my home fast" or without so they kind of raised their hand and I was responding to their request.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, the initial conversation was, I saw you're looking to sell your home. How can I help? And then just like shut up and let them tell you how to serve them. If you're doing it from a cold calling perspective, I think it's not different. It's, again, don't do what everyone else does. Hey, Mariah, this is Nick. Do you still have that house on Main Street?
Stand out.
Yes. Great. Have you ever thought about selling it? Maybe. Okay. And then it's just like be inquisitive. And instead of like attacking them, like, I want to buy your home, like kind of get to understand who they are. And once they tell you what their pain point is, then you can solve their pain. And again, in my experience with investors, if you only have one option, which is a cash offer, and they don't want the cash offer because the house might be in great condition and it's ready for sale on the open market. Well, if all you have is a cash offer, you're going to lose that opportunity.
Because you don't have that plan.
And that's where it's a bit of, if you have an agent you've partnered with, great. I totally understand. My cash offer is probably not going to be the right fit for you. And rather than try to force it down your throat, let me connect you with Cindy. She's my agent partner, and she'll be the one that help you take it to retail. So like, that's where I think it's a bit of, don't behave like a cold caller, behave like a human being and ask the person real questions.
So I can also say, just kind of on our agent side, right? Let's talk like from an agent, and some of you are agents here, like expired listings. Everybody calls them at day 31. It's expired. So everybody's picking up the phone trying to call them. You're trying to get it expired. Instead, I send letters. I don't call them first. I send them a letter in the mail, maybe a presentation, maybe a listing presentation, maybe like, hey, your home didn't sell. These are the reasons why. Now I'm going to call you and or show up at the door. Now they've already received something from you of value, and it helps start that conversation.
Yeah.
Wow. I hadn't heard that one before. I like that. It's like providing that value while your listing didn't sell. Interesting.
Yeah.
We have questions around like seller psychology and negotiation. I think this is a good transition for that. One of the questions was, how do you handle a seller who wants more than asking, but the number doesn't match the actual value?
I mean, I just answered that to say, like, don't try to force a cash offer to somebody that's not going to take it. We actually work with a company here in Charlotte that generates a lot of listing opportunities that are people want a cash offer. So the marketing our company does is generates people that are interested in cash offers. We know only about 30% of the people we sit down in front of are going to take a cash offer. So because we've got the pivot to, well, we can sell your house on the open market, we get 70% of our businesses from people that have a retail property to sell. So I would say, again, find an agent to partner with. And oh, by the way, if you partner with an agent and you're buying leads, well, now you and the agent can share the cost of generating leads, because here's the way that I would do it. In fact, here's the way I've done it successfully. I tell the agent, we'll split the cost of the lead generation. I'll do all the work to determine if it's a deal for me or if it's a deal for you. If it's a deal for me, I'll keep it and I'll pay you a referral fee because you shared in the cost of the lead. If it's a retail listing, I've already warmed it up. I know what their pain points are. I know all the stuff. And now I'm handing off a warm lead to you. All you have to do is like, don't kick the dog when you walk in the door and you're going to get a listing. So that's a great partnership that you're not just throwing away opportunities because you don't have a second or a third or a fourth option for them.
And then also with that, I would say having that agent is bringing another party in. You're bringing a second party in or a third party in to show them the facts and the data about how their home is really valued. So it's not just you sitting there, it's somebody else bringing the same kind of information. And then at that point, they can make the decision. Is it worth me going to market with this agent and putting it on the market for 30 to 60 days, or now turning back to the investor who can give me this cash right now?
And
if you're
go finish your thought.
No, that was it.
Well, I was going to say, we actually somebody I helped, a cash offer that I helped sell their house actually through a novation. For those of you that know novation, I actually did this deal as a novation about 3 years ago. That seller referred me to their aunt and uncle up in Maryland. So we actually drove up to Maryland on Monday morning to meet with this couple. And we sat down and we said, here it is, here are your options. And I gave them 4 options. And I said, I didn't know the numbers yet because I hadn't run the comps and I didn't know what the condition the house was in. But I said, I'll call you back and I'll give you 4 options. And I even said, I don't care what option you take because I've built profit into every one of those options. So you pick the one that's right for you and let's execute on it. Again, if all I had was the cash offer and they didn't like it, we'd be SOL.
And here's the other point of that. I was sitting there as well from an agent perspective. I'm not licensed in Maryland, but I'm licensed in North Carolina. And I could tell their pain points as well was, I don't know where we're going. I want to sell the house, but I don't know what's next. And so we kind of got that out of them. And with that, I was like, hey, guess what? I have realtors in every state that I can refer you to, and I can set up all these appointments. So wherever you want to go, I have referral partners, and we're solving this, we're giving them a solution for the pain points in order to get them to where we want them to go. If you don't come with solutions, guys, you're just going to have that dead end of the skepticism because you're not, first of all, you're not making relationships and value and solutions.
Yeah. Yeah. Great call out. One of the things that we get asked a lot about when people are just starting out is like you were speaking to the relationships and mentorship. Did y'all have mentors in the space when you first started? And if so, how did you find them?
So I am effectively mentoring Cindy like on the fly right now.
Investment side.
On the investment side. So yes, as when I was a very brand new investor, again, at that time, I'd been an agent for going on 18 years. I found a group of other agents that were all kind of transitioning away from agent life to investor life. And there was one guy that was, the more experienced of all of us, but we would get on calls regularly and evaluate deals in real time. And I mean, we actually helped somebody who was a brand new agent. She was a child chiropractor and she decided to become a real estate agent, like a pediatric chiropractor, decided to become a real estate investor. And she'd get on a call and she was following the process that we kind of promoted. And she'd get on the call and be like, somebody answered the phone. What do I do? And we'd kind of walk her through it. And then, okay, give her marching orders. And the next day she'd get on the call. All right, what do I do next? And so getting into a group of people that are, at the same level and or a step or two ahead of you in the process is invaluable.
Yeah. So I've had great mentors in the realtor fields, and great brokers along the way. And then I did 𝗕𝗰𝗙𝗃 coaching forever. So I've been coached through the 𝗕𝗰𝗙 system on the agent side. And also have my own now coaching program, and I've led a team and things like that. So, and now I'm getting a lot more coaching on the investment side.
Right. And to your, great question, Mariah. It's something that because we both have it in our hearts to be like servant leaders, like we are getting ready to start like looking for people that want coaching or mentoring. Because again, I don't know the level of the degree of experience that all the people are on here on, but if they have less than 2 years of experience, like I think the benefit for working with people like us is we're only that far ahead of you, right? We're only like 6, 7, 8, 10 deals ahead of you. We're not Grant Cardone. We're not these guys that are like, do millions a year. And we are honest with the mistakes we make. So, but I think we're more relatable for that very reason.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so valuable. Like that, like you were speaking to the 1 step, the 2 step, 3 steps ahead of you is like, that is a perfect sweet spot to find someone. Let's stick on the networking and referrals since we know that it's so essential. One of the questions we had was, how often should you be following up with referral partners, not just leads?
I think that comes back to like a relationship, right? How often, if you follow up every 2 days, then you sound desperate and you sound needy. But, if you're following up with that person on an appropriate, is it, if you're an investor and they're an agent and, you have maybe a face-to-face once or twice a month, just as a, or maybe a face-to-face once a month, like a coffee, like, hey, let's get together. Let's just kind of get to know each other. If you're doing opportunities, it could be you're in real time. Hey, I've got a deal. I'm having a hard time running comps. Can you help me run comps? And then it's like, great, so, and if I get the deal, you're going to be my agent on the back end. And it's just creating like, mutually beneficial relationships. So how deep do you want the relationship to be would determine how frequently you want to connect with that person.
But I also would say consistency of keeping up with them, like in your database, right? Like I send out monthly newsletters. We send out 2 monthly newsletters a month. One is a market update and one's a life update and it's a blog post, right? And so all of our vendors, all of our referrals, all of our agents and our clients get those newsletters. So they see what's happening in our lives. They see what's happening in our business. So they're staying atop of mind as well. And if something changes, they're like, hey, we saw this update, blah, 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 So something as easy as a newsletter that it's an email and done, you're still staying top of mind.
Yeah.
Something else that I've created, and I had some, and the other thing is, right, life happens to you in this business. And, I had actually started a blog. It was a newsletter and a blog. So I had my newsletter emailing list, and I would copy and paste the newsletter and post it on the blog. So that I was sending out 2 or 3 times a week, only because there was relevant information to share with my audience. So it was, here's a deal I'm evaluating. Here's a lesson I learned. Here's a lesson I learned outside of real estate, just a life lesson to learn, right? Like I run Spartan races, and it's amazing what you learn training to run a 50K race or a 21K race, and obstacles and all the, the mental part of it, the physical part of it, and how that relates to trying to buy a house to flip. Or
people want to be relatable in relationships.
Yeah.
And they want you to be a real person.
Yeah.
Basically.
So
yeah.
Be a real person. I mean, we said that a couple times. Like, be a human being, right? Be a human being, and want to have a connection with somebody that's not at the transactional level.
All the time.
Because if all you do is have transactional level relationships, it's going to be that inch deep and that mile wide and an inch deep versus an inch wide and a mile deep.
Yeah.
Like, what type of relationship do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all spoke to that. You call it, servant leadership. We call it give first. It's like that giving before expecting anything in return. Like, gosh, it's just simple, but it goes a long way. Awesome. Okay. We got a question in the chat or in the Q&A. I'm going to ask, and we might need a follow-up question to 𝗁𝗲, but he asked, where are you representing yourself? Where are people finding you?
As in, could you be more, I mean, is that a more specific, like, is it, are we like, is the question, are we on Facebook, Instagram, like blogs, like, or do you not know?
We don't know. So I'll ask Osmond to add some clarifying, but yeah. Are y'all represented? Do you have website? Do you have socials? What does that look like?
Yeah, go ahead.
You have more than I do.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We'll put it in the chat as well. And then also, yes, we do have mentorships available as well. We have a website, and we'll put it in the chat for you. We'll send it out in an email. We'll give it to you.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Lisa asked, how do you get in touch with you for mentorship? Love that. Yes. Okay. Osmond followed up. You mentioned that someone found you through Cash Offer.
So that was through one of those lead providers that I mentioned in the little presentation. I forget if it was Need to Sell My Home Fast or LeadZolo or whatever one of them was, because at the time when I was kind of going hot and heavy with the investment stuff, and I've cooled down on that because, like I said, life happened. I moved, a relationship ended, a relationship has started. So like life happened, and I'm kind of getting up and running again. But my system was designed in such a way that when a lead hit my system, or when I got a new lead from one of these pay-per-lead providers, my system immediately responded with a text message and an email. And then that instant gratification allowed me the opportunity to, if I was in an appointment or if I was running or if I was at the gym, like the person would get responded to. And then I could manually make a phone call an hour later and they've already been communicated with. So that was that part. I do, it's funny. I was talking to somebody And my website is 𝗵𝗁𝗂𝗃.com/follow. So first name, last name.com/follow. And we can get that out. But someone Googled me right after I'd been talking to them. They're like, and they found the blog and they started reading it and they saw the way that I communicate with sellers. And that helped encourage them, again, getting past that skeptic question that Matt asked earlier. Being transparent in the way that I do my business was relevant to the person that wanted to do business with me.
And it also goes back, how do you want to market? I mean, some people say, I just want to do especially on the agent side, and I think even on the investor side, you want to do social media, right? Well, you need to show up consistently on the social media every single day and have content about investing and about selling and about, whatever you're doing, your daily activities. So that's something we also, that I mentor as well. It kind of, with my whole mentorship, we kind of try to narrow down how you want to do the marketing, how you want to do it, and then kind of build your systems out from there and a plan.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nick, you were talking a little bit about automations, which is super important to help you scale.
Yeah.
Can y'all talk a little bit about how and if you're using AI, where does it help? Where have you found it hurts? Like, give us the lay of the land there.
So the original system that I said was clunky and had kind of pseudo automations was very clunky. And I created one that is, for those that know, it's built on the Go High Level platform. And it is systematized where it has triggers, which if something happens where somebody fills out a form or they leave, whatever, it automates, it creates a workflow. So my very first iteration of my CRM was more manual in that if I clicked a button, a text and an email would go out after a phone call. Then about 2 years ago, when AI was becoming more prevalent and AI agents were becoming more and more user-friendly to design and prompt and create the prompting for it, that's when I started implementing AI agents. So, and the nice thing is with an AI agent, you can prompt it, you can customize it to fit whatever persona you want it to fit. You can give it a different voice. You can give it mine, I think at one point was like, I said, the personality was like a Southern belle. So, I found a voice that had like a Southern accent. It was like a young Southern accent. And it was great because then her name was Emily. So Emily would make phone calls for me. And when the people would answer, she'd be like, hey, this is Emily with AIG Home Buyer. I saw that you're interested in selling your house. And the technology is getting better and better, right? And if people didn't answer the phone, it's designed to send a text message. My AI agent is in my SMS. So if you were to respond to me, my AI is going to respond to you before I am, and it's going to follow the same prompting. So I can execute my AI through a phone call, through text messaging. I can actually put them as a live bot, like on my website. So instead of doing a chat, it's it's a live voice to voice. So it's great that it's there, but I've also learned that there still needs to be a manual touch as well. When I only did the AI, I wasn't converting as much as when I was talking to them personally. So the AI is great for that. It's Thursday afternoon and I'm exhausted and I can't make phone calls. The AI is still going to make phone calls. But tomorrow, when I start following up, it's just going to, like Cindy was saying, create that human touch and that value add that a machine still can't provide that. But it's a kind of an either or, right? You don't have to have AI to run a successful business. It just fills in the gaps for when you can't have a conversation. She's not.
I'm not AI. I'm not.
But I think it's also what I'd also say to that is,
do I use it? Yes.
When I started implementing the AI, that was a rabbit hole that I went down, and I probably lost about 6 weeks of business because I spent so much time fixating on the AI that I kind of lost my vision. So I'm glad I did it, but it definitely had an impact in the short term trying to implement it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Y'all have talked a lot about like creating a system that works for you, whether that optimizes for your time or your money or some sort of combination of both. How do you know when your lead gen system is actually working, and like what are the metrics that you're tracking um,
Yeah.
to ensure that it is working?
I'll give the short answer and then she'll give a longer answer. If you're doing deals and making money, then your system's working. If you're not doing deals and you're not making money, then your system's not working, and it's just busy. It's just busy time.
I would say so, and I can kind of give you kind of a real life experience example here. So one, in your CRM, I hashtag everything. So everything's labeled, whether it comes in a sphere of influence, a past client, cold lead, a referral source, whatever it is, it's labeled. And in that way, when it goes to closing, we also have a closing spreadsheet that then I log it into whatever field it was. So I've tracked all my percentages throughout my years. And I can tell you where they are. Case in point, 2020 was kind of an eye-opening experience. I think between the years of 2020 and 2021, I lost 7 transactions, 7, because I was not keeping up with my database and I was not keeping contact with my past clients. So with that being said, that's when we kind of started implementing the newsletters and mailers and pop-by gifts and all the things, right? And so if you look at my matrix, over like 2 years later, those went up. And I could see the percentages went up because they started working. Again, consistency, staying in, it's not going to happen overnight, but that's kind of how I've
tracked it. And then another thing from a point or another.
Oh, I didn't.
We have the book.
Oh, I have the book. I didn't want
So 𝗕𝗰𝗙 Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent or Millionaire Real Estate Investor book, right? It goes back to, you start with how much money do you want to make? And then you kind of work your way back to, okay, if you want to make $200,000, well, what's your average, revenue? So if it's $20,000, great. That means you need to close 10 deals this year to hit your number. Well, how many deals do you have to put pending to close 10 deals? Then how many contracts do you have to write to get those? And you just kind of work your way back. And every time you get to a number, it's an opportunity to evaluate your conversion, right? If it takes you 20 pending deals to close 10 transactions, well, then there's an opportunity for you to improve your close rate, right? What if it only takes you 15 to close 10? Well, that means you have to do less upstream to get the same effect downstream. So that's, how many cold calls do you have to make, how many dials do you have to have conversations? How many conversations do you have to get to, in person? How many in persons you have to get to, those are all metrics along the way.
Right.
And they're all opportunities to improve the conversion at every one of those levels.
Yeah. You talked about, Cindy really talks about lead sourcing and understanding exactly where all of your deals are coming from. Were there any surprises of where your deals were coming from? And if so, did you shift your strategy to account for that?
So I think one thing was when 2020, when I realized I had lost so many transactions from past clients, right? And that's when I was like, all right, we're doubling down and we need to do this, this, and this. So I think that's one thing where I kind of switched that. I also, and I do webinars on this, is our mailers. We did newsletters. We actually did newsletters for just like a neighborhood. It was 170 homes or 270 homes. And I did mailers probably for 5 years. My return on investment was just something insane. It was like 700% or something. It was an insane number. I took a whole webinar on it, but it was working, right? And so we tracked all of that, and even our mailers, and then we do events. So it's kind of it's different things have worked in different areas and at different times.
Well, and for me, from an investor perspective, one thing that I started doing, or I did for a short period of time last year, was I found, and you might need to find an agent to help you pull this list, but I found real estate agents that had listed or sold a property that had in its comments finance, needs work or fixer upper or TLC, something like that. And I reached out to them specifically and said, look, I'm an investor. I'm only looking for off-market deals for properties that are in rough shape. Do you have anything that fits that bill? And I had like 20% of the agents respond to me, and they're like, well, I've got one. Well, I've got one. Well, I've got one. I was like, holy shit, excuse my language. Oh my God, like this is literally a gold mine of opportunities that are off market, because as agents, we will get opportunities. It's an estate sale that, somebody, kid just inherited mom's property that it needs all kinds of work, or they're out of state, or they don't know what to do with it. And this agent, for the most part, if they're uneducated in the way of investing, their only thought process is, let me put this on the open market. They tell their seller, you've got to do the renovation. You've got to. And if the seller doesn't have the time, the money, or the energy to do that work, well, then the agent and the seller are going to constantly be at odds. So I can come in and say, I've got a solution for your seller. But now I've created a relationship, and same thing. The agent already has a listing agreement with the seller, so they're going to get paid on the front end. And then when I do the flip and I give them the listing on the back end, they're literally going to make 2 or maybe more commissions on one property. So that was like an aha moment for me, that I didn't pay attention to my own kind of agents of saying, like, why aren't I fishing in that pond? So that's kind of an untapped resource.
Yeah, great call out. You also talked about finding agents that can speak to investors. What are some of the things you would ask an agent to understand if they are well versed with working with investors?
I don't know if that was us or you, but the question got blurred there for us.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, we went in and out. Yeah, y'all were mentioning finding the right investor agent, right? Like an agent that can speak to investors. What are some of the questions that you would ask them to make sure that they're going to be the right fit to partner with?
That's good.
I mean, I think it's just a bit of typically newer agents. It's almost like you're asking like the Goldilocks, right? If they're too new and inexperienced, they're not the right agent for the investor. And if they're too old, and not age-wise, but if they're too like long in the tooth, they're going to be set in their ways, and they're going to have an opinion of investors as well. So it's like you got to find that sweet spot of maybe as the investor interviewing the agent, how do you generate your leads? Do you do more sellers than buyers? Because, as an investor, I want the agent that's getting listings, not the agent that works with buyers, because the buyer clients are no good for me because they don't have the asset that I'm trying to buy. Have they done transactions with investors? I think it's just, feeling them out and
are they open to learning? It could be just an open, because I know when we first met, he started talking, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like,
it was a different language.
It was a different language to me. I'm like, scale it back. Like, let's peel it back a little bit. So, but it's opening it up to a whole world. But if the agent's willing to listen.
Yeah, that's a good call out. We've got about 5 more minutes left, so I wanted to encourage folks to ask all the questions you possibly can, and take advantage of this time. One of the benefits of the registration is that y'all got to submit your questions beforehand. So thanks for y'all for doing your homework. But give yourselves a couple minutes, ask all the questions you want to ask, and we'll keep going on the list here. One of the things that folks asked about were, what tools or CRM setup do you recommend for solo investors versus small teams? Nick, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this, and I figured we could give you a little bit of opportunity to chat about your CRM. So do you want to hop in?
Sure. Let me share my screen, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to present what I've created for everybody. Let me see. I don't think I'm sharing my screen yet. This screen share. So So, and if we can put this link or, put this link in the chat so people can get to it. I created this custom page just for people on this call because there's like a little promo that I want to offer to people. And this kind of gets you into the agents have an idea, right? You're losing money because your lead's going cold. You don't have the right follow-up system. It gives you an opportunity to kind of connect with me and do one-on-one kind of an analysis of what you're doing, what might work for you, what might not work for you. My CRM, there's 3 different options or 3 different levels. The standard one is more the manual automation. It's relatively inexpensive for what you get. This middle option, you get a custom AI agent. So I'd kind of sit down and we'd interview each other, or I'd interview you and figure out what do you want your AI agent to do. And then that would be here. And then for the people that are, building a team, right? That's when you get to here, 5 users, you can build more custom agents. So I think, again, it's a matter of how much money do people have to invest. If they've got a little bit of money and they just need a basic CRM that can do some automated text messages and emails, standard would be great. If they're wanting to kind of get into AI, this middle option is really, really nice. The nice thing also to say, and I remember it was in one of the questions that you didn't ask, but I remember seeing it, something to the degree of where it's like a great lead source, something like that. And literally your old leads is a great lead source. If you're the person that gets a lead and then you called them twice and then got busy or forgot, or, I have in one of my things, I have this a story of a sticky note that I had on my desk that it was a lead that I stopped following up with. And 30 days later, I was like, oh, let me follow up with that person. And like, yeah, we just sold our house. And it's a deal that I had budgeted, or I had projected like a $37,000 profit if I got the deal. So I lost the opportunity for $37,000 because I wasn't following up with them. So how many leads does an agent or an investor have that are just cold in their system? With this professional level, I would say, let's take those leads, let's drop them back into the machine as if they were brand new and see if we can't unsurface 1 or 2 deals from all of your old leads. And then last but not least, because I know we're kind of really coming to the end, it's a great way, like just go to the bottom, fill out the information. If you're interested in one of the options, let me know. I've got a couple downloads to offer to people, same thing. This done for you acquisitions is kind of a middle ground to like mentoring / I could be your ISA, but that's a whole thing. And then No Lead Left Behind is a giveaway that I'm happy to share. It has my scripts for the first 7 days. It has the follow-up process, the whole 9 yards. So that's available for people that go to the site and kind of connect with us after the event.
And we're going to put in my link tree as well, the link to that, and it has everything on from my stuff.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, obviously, if y'all haven't already realized it this far in, you can tell these two have quite a bit of knowledge and expertise. So I highly encourage everyone to reach out. I posted the link here in the chat. Cindy, if you have yours, Linktree one, put that one in the chat.
We're trying to type it right now.
Perfect. Any final thoughts or key? I like to ask like any action items, like one key action item for people tonight as we walk away.
The biggest key would be, it's kind of funny, and it was something I said at the very end. Do that whole Gary Keller, start with how much you want to make and then work your way backwards to determine how many transactions do you need to do. And then from how many transactions you need to do will ultimately kind of get you to how many contacts do you have to talk to daily / weekly to generate the amount of opportunities, to generate the amount of deals. Because if you just start with like, I need to do 35 deals this year. Well, do you really need to do 35 deals? Like if you think that, and you go down the wrong path of lead gen, you're going to waste your time and or your money.
And I also would say, the word is on the tip of my tongue, and I cannot think of the word I'm looking for right now. It's like find your avatar. right?
Mhm.
You're not going to go after everybody. And agents, I know we all do this at the beginning of our business. I can be everything to everybody. No. Find the avatar. And I have a worksheet for agent side, and I can make one for investment side for you guys. Send me a message, but we can make a question and answer, or question that'll kind of get you to your avatar. But I know I have one on the agent side if anybody wants it. But find your avatar, figure out who you want to market to, who you're going after, because you're not going to go after everybody, and then that's going to help you streamline your marketing and your systems.
Totally. Yeah. Your avatar, your buyer persona, both things.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, I posted both those links in the chat for everyone. Great last key takeaways and action items. Thank you both so much for your expertise. This has been awesome. Really great to learn from you. We will send out an email tomorrow with the link. So if y'all needed to rewatch or, look at the transcript and get any additional insights, you can do that. And we'll see everybody in 2 weeks at the next webinar.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Everyone.
Thanks, y'all. Take care.
Take care.